I never thought I'd be that person. The kind of person who does something so vile, so unforgivable, that even thinking about it makes my stomach turn. And yet, here I am, sitting alone in a hotel room, my phone buzzing non-stop with texts from my husband, my mother, even my best friend. I haven't opened a single one. Because what could I even say? I guess I should start from the beginning. My name is Laura. I'm 32, married to my husband, Jake, for 6 years. We met in college, one of those cute, he spilled his coffee on me in the library, kind of stories. He was my best friend before he became my partner, and when we got married, I truly thought we'd be together forever. He's kind, hardworking, and everything a woman should want in a man. But then, there's his father. Richard. A man in his late 50s, but you wouldn't guess it by looking at him. He's got that rugged, older man charm, salt and pepper hair, piercing green eyes just like Jake's, and a presence that commands attention the second he walks into a room. He's also wealthy, charismatic, and, unlike Jake, utterly unpredictable. And that's how I got into this mess. The beginning of the end. It started about a year ago. Jake and I had been going through a rough patch. Work stress, financial strains, and just, life. We weren't intimate as much. He was always exhausted, and I felt like we were just roommates. Then, there was Richard. He'd always been flirtatious, but I never took it seriously. Until one night, after a family dinner at their house, when Jake had gone to bed early, and I was left alone with his dad in the kitchen. "You seem tense," he said, pouring me another glass of wine. I laughed it off, but I wasn't going to lie. After 2 glasses, I was feeling comfortable. Maybe a little too comfortable. And then, Richard did something unexpected. He reached over, tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, and let his fingers linger on my cheek just a second too long. My stomach twisted, but I didn't move. I should have moved. "You're an incredible woman, Laura," he murmured, his voice just above a whisper. I should have stopped him. But I didn't. That night, nothing happened, physically, at least. But something did shift between us. The first mistake. Over the next few months, I found myself drawn to Richard in ways I didn't want to admit. We started texting, harmless at first. A joke here, a compliment there. But the messages got bolder. Then, one afternoon, I went to his office downtown. I told myself I was just dropping off some paperwork for Jake. He worked for his father's company, after all. But deep down, I knew that was a lie. The second the door closed behind me, Richard was on me. His hands were on my waist, his lips at my neck, and I didn't stop him. I didn't want to stop him. It was electric. Passionate. A stark contrast to the lukewarm kisses I'd been getting from Jake lately. I left his office that day shaken, but not guilty enough to stop. And that's how it continued. Hotel rooms, stolen moments at family gatherings, whispered conversations in the hallways when no one was looking. I told myself I still loved Jake. That I was just confused. But I knew better. The breaking point. Then, last week, everything fell apart. We were at another family gathering, Richard's birthday, of all things. I'd been avoiding him all evening, knowing we were on dangerous ground. But after a few drinks, I made the mistake of sneaking away to meet him in his office upstairs. I should have checked the door. Because the moment his lips touched mine, the door swung open. And there stood Jake. I will never forget the look on his face. Shock. Confusion. Then, pure, undiluted rage. "Are you *****ing kidding me?" he whispered, voice shaking. I didn't have words. I couldn't breathe. Richard, to his credit, or lack thereof, stepped forward, trying to calm him down. "Jake, listen. But Jake wasn't listening. He lunged at his father, landing a solid punch to his jaw. I screamed. His mother screamed. And in the chaos, I did the only thing I could think of, I ran. Now what? That was 3 days ago. I haven't been home since. I've been hiding out in this hotel room, trying to figure out what the hell I'm supposed to do. Jake hasn't stopped calling. The last voicemail he left me was just him breathing heavily before he finally choked out, "I don't even know who you are anymore." And the worst part? I don't either. I ruined everything. My marriage, my relationship with my in-laws, and my own damn dignity. Richard hasn't contacted me since that night. I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse. All I know is, whatever happens next, I deserve it. I've been in this hotel room for 3 days, and the walls feel like they're closing in on me. I haven't eaten much. I haven't slept more than a few hours at a time. My mind keeps replaying the moment Jake caught us, his face twisted in betrayal, his fists clenched in rage. I finally check my phone. 36 missed calls. The latest one is from my mother. I hesitate before pressing play on the voicemail. "Laura, honey. Jake called me. He told me everything." "What were you thinking?" I don't even know what to say." "You need to come home and fix this. You need to face what you've done. Running away won't change it. Call me. Please." I squeeze my eyes shut. Fix this? How? Jake will never forgive me. His family will never look at me the same way again. And Richard, well, Richard is radio silent. Which, honestly, stings more than I want to admit. I don't know what I expected. That he'd show up at my door, tell me he had feelings for me, that this was something more than just a mistake. I laugh bitterly. I was never anything more than a thrill for him. A secret indulgence. And now I have nothing. Facing the fallout. By day 4, I finally gather the courage to leave the hotel. I can't hide forever. I have to face Jake. Driving back to our house feels surreal. I half expect him to have changed the locks. But my key still works. The second I step inside, I know he's here. He's sitting on the couch, a half-empty whiskey glass in his hand, his eyes bloodshot. He looks like he hasn't slept either. When he sees me, he exhales sharply. "You finally decided to come back," he says, voice laced with exhaustion. I swallow the lump in my throat. "Jake, I don't." He holds up a hand, shaking his head. "I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear sorry. Because sorry won't fix this, Laura." Tears well up in my eyes. "I know." He leans forward, rubbing his temples. "I just have one question." His voice is quieter now, almost broken. "Why him?" And I don't have an answer. Because how do I explain it? How do I put into words that it wasn't about love, or even real passion? That it was about feeling wanted in a way I hadn't felt in years? That Richard made me feel alive in a way Jake hadn't in a long time? None of that justifies it. Nothing ever will. So I just shake my head. I don't know. Jake lets out a bitter laugh. "That's worse, you know. If you had said you were in love with him, I could at least hate you for it. But this? This just makes it pathetic." I flinch at the word. "Because he's right. Are you sleeping with him?" His voice is tight, controlled. "Still?" I shake my head. "No. I haven't seen him since that night." He scoffs. "Of course. My dad got his fun and dipped the second shit hit the fan, huh?" I don't say anything. Because, again, he's right. Silence stretches between us. Finally, he stands up, running a hand through his hair. I can't do this, Laura. I can't even look at you without seeing him. I knew this was coming. Are you leaving me? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. He doesn't answer right away. Instead, he grabs his jacket, heading for the door. I don't know yet, he says. But I know I can't stay here tonight. And just like that, he's gone. The aftermath. Days pass. Then weeks. Jake moves out of the house. He won't talk to me. My calls go straight to voicemail. His mother blocks me. And Richard? Richard texts me once. Take care of yourself, Laura. That's it. No apologies. No promises. Just a goodbye. And that's when I realize how truly alone I am. I file for divorce first. Not because I want to, but because I know Jake never will. He's the kind of man who holds on, even when he's drowning. I won't do that to him. A few months later, I hear he's dating someone new. A friend of a friend. She's kind. Sweet. The kind of woman who would never do what I did. And me? I move out of town. Start fresh. But the guilt never leaves. Because some mistakes, you carry forever. Time doesn't heal all wounds. It just buries them under layers of routine, work, and forced smiles. It's been a year since everything fell apart. A year since I destroyed my marriage, betrayed the man I loved, and threw away the life we built together. I thought moving away would help, but distance doesn't erase shame. It follows you, creeping in when you least expect it. Some nights, I dream of Jake. Not the Jake who caught me in his father's arms, but the one who used to make me laugh until my stomach hurt. The one who danced with me in our tiny kitchen at midnight. The one who loved me enough to trust me with his heart. A heart I shattered. I never saw Richard again. I never reached out, and he never looked for me. Maybe that's the worst part, realizing I was just a mistake to him. Something fleeting. Something disposable. Jake, though, he was real. We were real. And I threw it all away for what? A momentary thrill? A fantasy that crumbled the second reality caught up? I see glimpses of his new life on social media, though I don't follow him. Friends still tag him in pictures, him, smiling, happy, moving on. He looks different. Lighter. Freer. And me? I exist. I wake up. I work. I go home to an empty apartment. I don't date. I don't think I ever will. Some mistakes you carry forever. And this one? This one is mine to bear.